I reckon if it's letting us do it, it'll be okay. I'm not. There's no me on. Oh, there you are.
There's no
Yeah,
me.
there's a
Where's
cat.
me?
Where's me?
What about me?
There's a little. Ah,
Um,
wait. Ah, yeah. So do we start recording again?
Yeah.
yeah, record.
Well, this is cool
Oh
because
yeah.
now Aidan's in the top left, I'm top right, Dave's down there. See how you like it, Dave?
We've all moved.
Oh, we're all in the same place for me.
Yeah, I've got us all along the top, and then
Oh, wow.
it only looks at who's talking. It comes on. Well, you or Niall, not myself.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
Wow, I really should be better at this. I mean, the youth of today are going to be
I haven't done that on purpose. It's changed.
very qualified with technology, but I'm behind the curve on that one.
Oh look, Aidan's got changed.
No, I just took my hoodie.
It's like it's like the Grammys, isn't it? You know, the host of the Grammys comes in with 14 outfits.
Costume change. It's a bit bright in here, a bit dark in here actually. Yeah, where were we?
Dave was going to eulogise about an amazing experience he had, a life-changing experience in Fontainebleau.
In Fontainebleau.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say I've had two experiences in Font. The first one was nothing really to do with me, I guess. It was in 2009, and basically it was, I think, it was basically watching Ned climb Karma. So I think one of his first climbing films had been Real Thing, and Karma had been the thing he'd always wanted to do in Font. And we went there one day, and it was just a little bit of snow on top, but it was the days where you actually got snow where you could literally blow the snow off and it would reveal dry rock underneath. So we blew the snow off Karma, and we both did Karma that day, which was very cool. But Ned did it, and it was cool to watch him do it, and it was really cool to see him sit on top, and because it had been something that he'd always wanted to do, and Ned doesn't really show his emotions hugely, I don't think, but he didn't like whoop and welt, but he was just quiet and he was happy. It was cool.
Almost cracked a smile.
Almost cracked a smile.
I think there was a smile there. He was smiling inside.
No. But hey, Dave, you did Karma as well. That's amazing. Karma.
Yeah, it was
wow.
Cool. It was good. It was a great day. It was a lovely day, especially because we were there for 6 weeks, and it pretty much rained every day.
That's a sizable trip.
Yeah.
I imagine a lot of pastries are consumed if
lots of pastries.
Too many rest days.
Yeah.
You need a friend for that, Aidan, wouldn't you? A 6-week trip. You need a good friend. You know, somebody's going to
need a good friend. Either that, or become very good at climbing in fun.
Or you'd get massively obese or diabetic.
That's true.
That's called type 2 fun, isn't it?
What, climbing?
Getting diabetic out eating pastries.
I love that little. I love that bit in. Is it in The Real Thing where they're describing what they're looking forward to in Font, and Ben's talking about climbing, and all Jerry talks about is pastries and little beers? Is it The Real Thing?
Yeah, that's where they do their trip to. Yeah, no, that's when they do their road trip around Font in Switzerland, isn't it?
Yeah. No, yeah. And my other experience also is actually about snow. It's just about climbing a really good boulder called Flora, which isn't ridiculously hard, but I think it's a really nice boulder in a really quiet part of the forest. And it started to snow. It was snowing really heavily, and we drove there just to go and look at it, because I was like, I want to go and look at it, and then so I know what it looks like and go back and climb it. And we walked in through that kind of snow that, when you stand on it, it squeaks.
Ah, beautiful.
So the snow was squeaking. We were walking in, and we got there, and although the top obviously had snow on, the rock was bone dry, and I was like, oh, wow. And I went up top, and I just went, and the snow just disappeared. It was so light, and it was all dry underneath, and I was like, let's go and get the pads. And I was with a couple of friends, Joe and Andy, and we ran back to the van and got some pads. and started walking up, and it stopped snowing at this point. It was beautiful, and we literally just blew all the snow off the top. It was totally dry, and put the pads down and had a really good go, actually, a good flash go, and fell off this move. My foot popped, and basically then got on halfway, did that move and went to the top, and I was coming back down, and it started snowing, and not just a little bit of snow, but it started whoom. And so Joe ran up the top with a towel to have over the key jug at the top, and I dried my feet off and literally pulled on and had to do it that go, and pulled on and managed to do it that go. And just as I was about finding the jug at the top, Joe would move the towel and I did it. And it was just really, it was one of those kind of really cool kind of moments. And it was nice because obviously I'd done something I really wanted to do, but it was possible because Andy and Joe. So it's kind of lots of cool things.
Yeah, wouldn't have been possible if you had no friends of you.
Exactly.
Damn, friends do have a use.
I will have the friend.
So they help you rest, they carry your pads, they hold towels over holds.
Keep your holds dry. Damn.
Go on, Aidan, give us a bouldering experience that sort of sticks in your mind for sort of various reasons. One, maybe
in fun,
anywhere, just one that sort of that's sort of one of those ones that warm your heart, that sort of stuff where just magic happens.
Okay, yeah. So I'd say probably one of the coolest experiences was this summer, actually. I spent with the whole current situation with lack of travel not being possible, I kind of spent my summer home in the Lake District, and it was kind of super refreshing for me, actually. I often would like to see kind of outdoor bouldering be a bit more inspired by the history of it. So you guys mentioned about the magic that you can find in blogs and things like Pies and Dans, and there's something there which is quite valuable, which is sometimes quite hard to find in the more modern solutions to social media and things. And I often think this as well. We spoke about Fred and Nicole, and they kind of changed the sport a lot in that they started kind of aligning it with globalization almost. They'd suddenly travel all over the world, which kind of is amazing. I kind of did that for a couple of years, and it was incredible to be able to experience completely different landscapes and rock styles of climbing and different rock types which you just never find in the UK. And it's amazing. You get meet international people from all over the world as well, and I kind of really did enjoy that. But also this last year kind of really enjoyed. It was almost it took a global pandemic for me to really appreciate what was in the UK, what was right next to home. And bouldering at the beginning when it started, when it kind of became its own sport, would be done on a much more local scale, and I kind of had never really seen quite the value in that. I grew up climbing in the Lake District and would climb outside, but all my training and things, I'd be thinking about all these like big trips that I'd go on, and I'd be like inspired by going to Colorado and trying all these climbs which I've seen like some world super wads like working together, and that would be like my main source of inspiration. And then this summer kind of really realised that wasn't going to be possible. I was originally going to go to Rocklands and realised I wasn't, like that was never going to happen. So thought I'd like focus on just trying to find some projects around here, and there's like some really high quality climbing which I was able to do this summer. And I think the like a specific moment would be probably I did a climb called Copperline, which is really near my house. It's about 15-minute drive away and a bit of a walk in. But it's like one of the best lines I've done around. I think it's kind of just very pure upper face, like not really any of the holds on it other than the ones you use. Has a really good view. It's just a really high quality boulder problem. But like it was a real like in terms of like it was a real eye opener for me of like the value of understanding what's on like my doorstep. And I think I'll probably take a lot of that. I'll probably apply a lot of that to my like future climbing. I think like I mean I still like will see all these climbs going up around the world, and part of me is like, oh yeah, I want to like test myself on those climbs. But I kind of also I'm becoming increasingly aware of like the impact of not just the traveling I personally have, like subtly promoting like excessive travel, and like perhaps unintentionally I've like developed a relatively not saying I have a large following, but like a relatively significant amount of people who are interested in what I do, and have become much more sensitive to like kind of subtly kind of promoting a lifestyle of excessive travel by like climbing to all these like venues all over the world. So I found like kind of almost a comfort in that I can I found loads of comfort in being able to like the idea that I can really pursue my passion for my climbing on really like high quality climbs at a really cutting edge standard, and do it close to home, and kind of feel like a bit more fulfillment I feel a bit more satisfied with the stuff I'm doing, knowing that like I'm kind of not being like a big like not really like displaying like myself not really like having to travel all the way around the world to do so.
Sure.
Yeah. So that was like a really amazing experience for me. I think like it took like, obviously it wasn't like in that moment, I didn't have that exact thought in my head when I topped the climb. I was just psyched that I did it, but like I like kind of learned from that experience a bit. And it was also like the moment where like it changed my confidence in the stuff that I could do. So like climbs which I'd had sessions on like beforehand, and I'd almost been trying them and doing the moves but never really thinking that I'd do them, like it gave me a really real confidence boost to actually like just link together a series of hard moves, which is kind of everything that bouldering's about.
Amazing. Yeah. So yeah, I was going to get onto this later, but we're here now. This is sort of a late in the conversation chat, but Aidan, you're talking about the stuff you did during the last summer. May as well just chat about it now, because you seem to have this run of form where you added a number of first ascents around. By the way, is the Lake District thing, you're staying local because of environmental reasons, or are we finding you're tuning in to the local area as well, in a more sort of a different level, you know what I mean? Sort of finding your language for that area. Was that part of it?
Yeah, no, that's definitely part of it. Like I definitely will often say like my climbing is like feels like such a big integral part of like my connection with nature, and like I kind of really value that. One of the reasons I sometimes quite like going climbing by myself as well. But I think that's definitely been really important for me, and I'd say I'd have definitely like appreciated that in other countries as well. So I don't think it is solely that. Like year before last, 2019, I spent some time in Colorado, and like the landscape there is incredible. It's kind of like the Lake District, but just exaggerated.
Bigger.
Yeah, everything's just bigger, and like it's like incredible. But so I could still really enjoy that connection with nature. I think like the part which made me like really like appreciate it like really locally was more like the not just the environmental impact of what I was doing, but like the promotion of that lifestyle it felt like it would lead to, were I to continue that. And like, it's not saying that I'll never travel to do my climbing. Like, I just think that whilst there's so much that I haven't explored, especially in the UK, that whilst I've got that and that like opportunity to explore those, like, I'm not looking to. I don't feel any need. I feel much less need to go elsewhere to satisfy that.
Cool. Yeah, it's good. I mean, the UK, I think I've travelled a lot, whether that's for, I guess that's because I've always been more selfish than necessarily what I deem my impacts upon the environment to be. But I guess probably what I was thinking about this before the pandemic, but maybe in the last 2 or 3 years, although I have still travelled in the last 2-3 years, I have started to think about my impact a little bit more. But I mean, the UK, I've travelled to most of the big climbing destinations, bouldering destinations, I would say, in the world, and they're really good. But I think the UK has as much to offer as all of those do. It's just that it's not as easy for people. So the weather, the weather's not great. Also, like, I don't think any one area in the UK is completely world class, other than maybe the Gritstone, but only because it's different. But I think within 3 hours of Sheffield, for example, what you can get to is world class. And that's for sport. Like, the amount you can sport climb, trad climb and boulder within 3 hours of Sheffield is insane. And there is so much good stuff, but you just have to work hard for it. I don't know if I'll ever do it, but a challenge I've always thought would be really cool, and it would take a lot of effort, is that we have really bad weather in England overall, but I truly believe if you are driven enough, you can climb outside in the UK 365 days within a year. Within let's say a 3-hour drive of Sheffield, for example. And I thought it would be really cool one year to try and do this. I don't think it will ever happen, to prove to people that the weather isn't that bad.
You could look back from your deathbed, Dave, and say it's all been worth it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what we have, like the variety of rock, the variety of styles.
It's so varied, isn't it? So varied.
It's so varied.
It looks so different. Sea cliffs.
Sea cliffs, Northumberland sandstone, the rhyolite in like North Wales and in the lakes, the gritstone, the slate quarries,
Scottish stuff.
Yeah,
there's an insane amount of diversity, isn't there?
Yeah,
rock
and
types.
It's so cool, but people just don't know. People don't know about it.
So I did this book, Boulder Britain, and so traditionally I always thought that bouldering was centered around the gritstone and stuff like that. But it seems like on the outskirts now there's amazing energy, like from very small groups, but really, really cool little squads who are doing really amazing stuff around these different parts around the country, just in their own local areas. And it's always this, like, sort of a certain number of people who push that area forward and take up that style, like the Lakes or Cornwall, Devon, Northumberland.
I think it kind of just take like a set of quite like some like really motivated individuals to like kind of really push a development, and especially with the UK being like quite unknown, that's probably like generally the style of UK climbers. They're not like ones to really like sell their achievements, or like perhaps it just hasn't quite got like the reputation you might find of like some of the crews in like America, where you like just see the stuff they do all over the internet or something. But I think like in terms of the actual development, like developing climbs kind of almost requires you to be like quite local to be able to like kind of consistently spend time in areas like going to look at boulders to see if they're like potential. Like, you don't want to drive 3 hours from Sheffield to the Lake District to like hike up for an hour to like kind of scrub at some over features slabs with nothing on them because you'd seen some like pictures and like some walker's photo or something.
Yeah, and
So,
it looked quite big in the photo when you got there. It wasn't quite as big as it looked.
yeah, you see it and you're really psyched from the car park, and then you get there and it's by your waist.
It was only in the last 5 minutes of the hour and a half walk that it really started to shrink.
yeah, exactly. Some like little illusion there, but if that's like 10 minutes from your house, like you haven't really wasted anything. You've just had a walk in the fells, which is like no bad thing. So like it kind of like, and like I know I've seen it in the lakes, like so much of the development had been done by a guy called Greg Chapman recently, which over like the past few years, and like the amount of effort he's put into like kind of find a load of new crags. Like, I mean, I've put up a bunch last summer, but like I've generally been pretty lazy in terms of like finding new places. Like it kind of takes a different level of commitment or like patience. Like I've started doing it a little bit over this last lockdown. Actually, I've just been running about trying to find some more boulders, which has been quite fun, but I'd say most of the days you find absolutely nothing. Like everything's just crap. but it kind of like it takes that to like kind of really develop a place. And I think like there are areas, like most of the areas in the UK kind of still need that. Like I think there's some areas like, I mean, I haven't climbed much in North Wales, but from discussion with people, like it seems like it's been quite like thoroughly developed as an area, whereas like places like Scotland are somewhat like untouched. And like I kind of like almost, not that like I feel like it's nice, like it's satisfying to like make a contribution to like the future of the sport as well. And I feel like it's kind of quite an exciting prospect to like kind of feel as though like you can actually like create like a set of climbs which like will inspire people in the future. And I think like when there's like a blank canvas to do that, like it's definitely quite exciting. I mean, I'm yet to do it, but there's like so much still to find. It just like requires, I think.
It's interesting what you said about North Wales. So I got a text message from, this is cool. I got a text message from Pete Robbins on the 18th of December, 2020, and saying that he did his 200th FA of the year yesterday. So on the 17th of December, he did his 200th FA in Wales. So there's still lots to be done in Wales. Pete would argue with you.
There you go.
But that just shows it's so cool though. Like, and like this over, I guess since we've obviously had kind of 3 lockdowns within England during this pandemic and stuff. But during I guess when the first one started to ease and we could be a bit further from home, me and Nina bought me the OS maps for the peak. And we would just basically, I would like look at the OS maps and I'd be like, says there's stones there. And we would do a walk around that. I've literally dragged Mina all over the peak looking at places where I'm like, I don't reckon anyone's been here. I haven't found anything yet. On those walks, I haven't found anything. So it does take a lot of effort. And I'm not known for like, it's first ascents is a really funny thing. I've climbed a lot, so I require people to do first ascents. But for me, actually, some people love doing first ascents, and that's what they get the greatest sense of joy out of, which is brilliant. But for me, I just love actual climbing. So if I'm actually not that bothered about doing the first ascent of something, I think so, I have been in the past at times, but overall, I just want to go climbing. So if someone tells me about a really cool boulder, I just want to go and climb on it, and because I love actual climbing, like the movement and stuff.
There's no doubt that attempting to develop actually takes up a lot
So much
more
time.
walking than actually climbing. So
Yeah.
I think you're probably right there. If you
is,
want to
mate.
do climbing, then
Yeah.
not the one to go there.
Right, so let's have a look at where things are at in the UK now too, in terms of standards. So there's now 8Cs and 8C pluses and things, isn't there? How many people are climbing at what's the sort of, what grade are like 10? Are lots of people climbing 8B plus? Is that like a common grade now?
I
Would there
think
be-
it's
30
Yeah.
people doing 8B plus.
Yeah, I mean, it depends how you say whether someone climbs in it. So, for example, I've climbed 8B plus, but I don't think I'm an 8B plus climber.
Right.
So it depends what you mean. I would say definitely 30 people in the UK will have climbed 8B plus boulders.
Right. Do you say that's because you've only done one day? You've not
I've done two, yeah. I don't think I'm an 8B plus climber.
Right.
Whereas I've done however many 8Bs, so I would say I'm an 8B climber. But
yeah.
so I think you're right. I think probably 30. I think there's probably more than 30 people who've climbed 8B plus, but most of those people have probably climbed one 8B plus, and
well, that must be the same one.
Maybe only one 8B, and maybe only two 8A pluses and things.
Right.
I think like the climbs you do as well often like will affect that. Like some styles of climbs are like much easier to kind of like push those grades. Like I mean, I'll probably piss some people off and say, but like lots of the time you get like limestone link ups or something, which like there's kind of like obviously like you required to be like really strong to do them, but like generally like reliable conditions, or like you can go there very regularly and like very workable. Like it's much easier to do like the climbs which are probably that grade, but like just so much more workable that like than say you might find like a gritstone 8B plus or something, or like I think like the style of it definitely changes. It's just whether you define that person who has climbed that grade to be like a climber of that grade. But
I mean, in terms of actual climbing, I think you're right. I think there's probably a bunch of people who have climbed 8B plus. There's quite a few people who have climbed 8C.
Lots of people like most of the world won't have heard about as well.
What's two boulder problems 8B plus are climb most? What's the most?
Probably something in Biblins. No, maybe not. I think maybe there's lots of 8Bs that have been climbed in Biblins.
There's I'm not sure. In the cave, will paracellers are they not done that regularly, are they?
There's not that many 8B pluses in paracellers. Probably something like Serendipity might have had quite a few ascents at Impossible Roof now.
The numbers spike up very quickly when you get to 8B. I think there's like a lot of UK climbers that have done 8B.
Yeah, 8B is probably more, like you say, like lots of people will have done that, but maybe
which
maybe
8B
not.
plus were you to downgrade it would piss off most people?
Oh,
What, do we have to have climbed it?
You know what's the fodder? What's the fodder? What's the munch 8B
I don't know. 'Cause
plus?
not many people have climbed 8B plus. I reckon you want to ask that about 8B.
Okay,
Niall.
what's some at Raventor? I guess it's some sort of
Probably.
keen roof or something like that.
Yeah, I reckon Keen Roof or maybe Godzilla or Wadzilla.
Right.
Or maybe
most people.
or maybe the Ace or Voyager. Those two.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've never tried the Ace, funnily enough. I'd like to.
Yeah, I think you'd maybe wallop it. I think the hardest thing for you would be just not dry firing off the holds on a good day. You need to go in the middle of summer, Aidan. Aidan has really leathery skin.
Right.
He's like Andre. He has to dip his hands in water sometimes. Do you still do that ever, or is that just for comps when you did that?
No, I actually do it most board zones.
There you go.
Yeah.
So what's the top climbs and top problems in the country then? Oh God, I'm not running out of time. 10 minutes left.
No,
We've got 10 minutes left, so
the top
climbs in the probably all of the climbs that, in terms of difficulty, every climb that Aidan did last summer probably.
No, I don't know about that. But I mean, like, it's also hard to compare styles, like.
Yeah.
But also the things like gritstone, for example, only really lends itself to a certain grade because you get to a point at which it's kind of impossible.
Right.
I think you go from too many features or just 0 features, and therefore it can't be 8B plus because there's no features. It's impossible. And so I think that's the hard thing with difficulty. It's getting just enough holds to make it possible, but they have to be the right size. And
I think often with gritstone as well, it's like hard to give something like it's such a fine line, because when you have something which like is possible, like just like it's so conditions dependent that like it's hard to know whether you'd like grade it in the absolute perfect conditions or like your average conditions, and like it actually makes a significant difference. Whereas like maybe up here, like on the lakes where it's mostly like
crimpy
like the conditions matter much. Like they still like you still don't want it like baking in the sun, but like it's like much less significant.
I wonder, I mean, I don't really know. I've not actually been to Christianbury, but I'd be really interested to know how hard Bombadil is of Dan's at Christianbury.
I haven't tried it actually. When I've been up a couple of times.
Dave, just describe Bombadil for the little person.
Well, Aidan's actually seen it in person. I've only seen a video of it, so maybe Aidan would be better to describe it in person.
So it's a pretty impressive line. It's massive. You basically start up like about a V0. It's just like pulling on jugs up until like about like a third of the boulder height, and then it's like you climbing. It's kind of like a proper like sandstone bulge, and it kind of climbs through some like long moves on very slopey pockets, and some like you throw up a really high left heel, and there's like an awkward mantle. It looks like really involved, very technical, and very physical as well. I think
what height's it? It's 6 meters, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably around that. Yeah.
It's not like, I don't think it's stupid high, but it's high enough that Dan didn't want, like, falling off the top isn't what you want to do, is it? I remember him.
I think you also like it's not over till it's like over.
Yeah, I remember
like
him saying that. Yeah.
There's actually one I think almost scarier looking to me further to
Hobby Noble.
Yeah, Hobby Noble, which I kind of looked at. I was like, oh yeah, that looks really good. Like, I'll get on that. Like, you get to the lip, and like, I mean, while I'm at the like, it looked kind of like not too bad, but it turns out like the crux is at the lip, or like actually mantling it on. So I gave that one a miss. But Christian V is amazing. I actually think
it's like an hour more from the road too, isn't it?
It's
the joy of an electric bike.
Crucial. I think
you need Tesla cells for your bike, like Varian.
It's the future.
Yeah, I think a lot of the it used to be it didn't used to be that bad, but when they were logging, I think you could drive quite close to it. I think that's what Dan said. But when the commission closed the road, you now can't drive close to it, so you either have to walk or cycle. I think it's it's quite a long way, isn't it? 4 or 5 miles.
Yeah, I think it would take a few hours to walk. I think they now started doing some work there, so they lock the gates. So you could drive in there, but if they lock the gates and you can't get out, then you'll have quite a pissed off forestry commission ranger, I reckon. So, e-bikes change the game. Really, you can get there really easily.
So in terms of characters, who are the most impressive boulderers in the UK these days? Who's doing?
He's next to me, by the way, not you.
Right,
Niall.
okay, you're right.
I don't know.
No, I think for me, there's actually I think it's really cool. Like, I mean, I guess if you're talking about really hard climbing, being impressive, then what Aidan did last summer is really cool.
What did he do last summer, Dave?
Bunch of hard stuff, like 8B plus to 8C plus boulders in the lakes, 7 first ascents, 6 first ascents around that grade.
I never counted. Yeah, I think
he did
around there.
He did some hard boulders, 8B plus to 8C plus. So like that's really impressive from a like top level standard. I think there's people as well like Mike Adams. So he's been climbing 8th grade boulder problems for a long time, but he's developed from Rotherham to Scotland to Cornwall, and then you've got people kind of like Varian and Ned again, who have just done a lot of hard climbing. Dan Turner is another one he works kind of full time. He'll tell you he works full time, but he works a lot, and he's climbed all over the UK. He loves the UK. I think that's really cool.
I often find stuff like that really, pretty inspiring. People who like will even in like pretty, like just love it so much that even like in crap conditions they're still willing to like put in the effort to climb up. Jack Palmieri's quite like that. I often thought he was just so psyched that like he'll always be out at like every opportunity, which is super refreshing to see. Like generation of climbers that just love it so much.
I think it's funnier. There's obviously like, I guess there's kind of maybe there was like Mike, and then I feel like there's kind of like an era, although we're not all the same age. I feel like there's me and Ned and Varian and Dan, and Jack's kind of joined that a little bit later on, and then there's now this kind of, I'm sure there are other people, but we kind of all looked up to Mike. And then we were doing stuff, and we travelled a lot all over the UK and tried to do stuff. And there's like a new level now of people who are going out and doing stuff, but they're also a lot better. So you've got Aidan and Jim Pope and Will and Nathan and Billy. Like, I mean, Nathan, for example, did the Boss today. That's like an 8B plus thing, whatever. I don't think Ned didn't grade it, but Ned said it was really hard. And, like Nathan did it today he nearly did it in his first session on Saturday, and he did it first go today. So not only is he like climbing on these hard boulders, but he's doing them really fast. And I think for me, one of the other, probably the person who is probably the only dark horse I've ever met, and it's not Dan Varian, is Mickey Paige. And Mickey's really pretty, like, he purely climbs for himself. But he's, been doing hard boulderings all out, like Switzerland and Font and the UK. Like, he was the first, he's like been climbing 8C for years.
Yeah. Climbing's too easy for Mickey.
Yeah.
I was always amazed to hear the stuff that Mickey'd done, and he'd always done a lot, seemingly having only come back to climbing for about 2 weeks.
Yeah, he did Monk's. I think the Monk's Life Crux 13 times in a row when Mark was taking pictures of him.
I remember reading an article about that.
So, and then there's obviously Tyler.
Huh.
Tyler
in case this does drop out, can I just come back in for like 5 more minutes if this does drop out, guys? Are you okay, Aidan?
Yeah, that's all good. It's all good.
Going back to like Between the Trees, what Tyler did in Between the Trees was totally world class. It hadn't been done in Font until Ty did that. He went to Fontainebleau, and he, like Aidan said, he did most hard climbs in the forest. Except Pierre Philosophy, which he really struggled with. But he just did them all, and he did them all in a couple of months, and people weren't doing that in Font. They maybe were doing it in Switzerland, and they were maybe doing it in Waco, but people weren't doing what he did in Font then. And
the style really doesn't lend itself to it as much as well. It's much harder to like climb hard in Font.
But he opened the floodgates now, and I think people do climb hard in Font. But it was like before it didn't happen. And then Ty went, people saw it was possible, and people started to go and do that stuff. And they do now, I think, for sure. But everyone's getting too strong. The boulders need to put up more of a fight.
Yeah.
I just find some new ones.